Mindset podcast. I am interviewing Kelly Peterich, and we're going to be talking about the athlete mindset that is related to tennis that could be used in other areas of your life. So I know you're a tennis player as well as you're a professional engineer. So I want to get into the mindset of how you prepare your day is a really good example, because I know that when you start work you have a certain mindset. So I want to go with that.
Okay, I guess where I'll get back as a tennis player, kind of get into that. So it's kind of a different sport with tennis, because you don't have a team. It's just you and your opponent. There is doubles, but definitely with singles, with being just you and opponent, you have to have a different mindset. And if you notice, like even the biggest players, Federer, Nadal, they're barely winning matches. When you look at total points, they might win a whole match by 4 or 5 points, and it's usually in the tie breaks. But the mindset of Federer and Nadal is what carries them over and has them be the next level. And basically, the way I've always approached tennis was that it's muscle memory. That's the biggest thing. If you watch Federer, you watch Nadal, they're hitting that same forehand, that same backhand. It looks the same every time. I know that, 10,000 times you master something?
Right.
So these guys, it doesn't matter where they are, they're in the same form every time, every situation. So that's always the tennis mindset. I was also a coach as well. That's what I always taught my students, was that when it comes to the big points, just think of your form. Don't think of anything else. Concentrate on the ball more than anything, and keep it simple, because the more your mind races and thinks about winning and losing, because if you watch some of the people that really choke out there, they're thinking they're playing not to lose instead of win, and you see the difference. Where you watch Serena, as it gets tighter and tighter, her game gets better. She goes for more. She gets more aggressive. So that's kind of the different mindset you're going to see in the different top players versus just the average guy. But overall, those pros pretty much are the same as far as strokes. But it's that winning mindset that puts them over.
Is it because also they have that muscle memory, and so it's like they do the strokes no matter what in their sleep, because they've done it over and over and over again, and they put themselves in different scenarios where like I've done that before, and so I can go ahead and do it again.
Yeah, and that's one thing I think Serena's learned also, not just the strokes, but especially you watch Federer, the guy's ice cold, right? He doesn't have any ups and downs. So a lot of times when players get emotional, they don't play as well. But Federer has learned to keep his emotions in check, and so every point, even the emotions are exactly the same as well. So it doesn't let to be emotional or anything like that.
So you think that, okay, when you're talking about the emotions, so what is it about like being emotionless that has that drive to excel?
As far as that, you don't let the little things get you, and then you don't get too low on that. You don't get mad at yourself. You just pretty much say, all right, I lost that point, and then you go right to the next point with that same exact mindset that okay, everything's a clean slate, you go right to it. Even with Federer, I mean, he does get a little bit more excited in the big points, but he keeps himself low in there as well, but then like there's a different mindset on that, where Serena, you'll see her really get pumped up when she wins the points. So some of the players, like Serena, take a different aspect of that mindset, where Federer doesn't ever get high, even when he wins the points. So.
Okay, so he's basically low key out through a whole entire match.
Yeah.
Whereas like Serena, she gets a major great shot, so she's spiking and she's over here excited.
Yeah.
She gets the crowd into it, and then she's feeding off of that energy from the crowd. But if she ends up like doing bad, and it's like, and she's just down in the dumps, do you see that? Does she?
I think the only person that can ever beat Serena right now is Serena. So as long as Serena maintains that positive mindset and doesn't go right into the negative and into the swallows, I guess you could say, she'll win then. But I can tell if she's losing. I don't even have to watch her match. I'll see her attitude, and I know if she's going to win or lose that match.
Okay, you can tell, because I know that when you watch like the NCAAs for basketball, you can definitely see the team that is going to win versus a team that's going to lose, because you have a team that is basically playing to win, and you have a team that is playing to lose, or playing to not, basically they're playing that just to be in it. They're just happy, and they're not really putting all the effort. Because I remember this one team, there were a bunch of, I don't remember what team it was, but they were like a Cinderella team, and they were just scrappers. and they were just diving and putting full court press. They were just going full throttle.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the difference, right? I mean, when you a lot of players, some players actually, that's another point. Is some players like to play. They play better from behind than they do from ahead. That's another whole different mindset. Is how do you play when you're ahead? Some people put the throttle down, and then they start losing. But some players are better from behind, where they start fighting better and they playing better from behind. So that's another mindset of like a guy like Federer. Doesn't matter if it's winning or losing, you play exactly the same.
Yeah, because I've seen that a lot with some teams where if they're behind, they're really going at it. But then if they're ahead, and you see this a lot with college basketball, that they have this big huge lead and then they lose it because they're not playing the same intensity that got them that lead because the other team got hot.
Yeah, exactly. That's why the new theory for tennis has just been the same even keel no matter what's going on. You're not going to get too high or low in any match. You're going to stay the same every single point. Yeah. So they're like machines out there right now, which kind of getting some kind of a kickback as far as some of the fans aren't liking the new way. Some of the players are way too emotionless. So from an entertainment standpoint, it's not the best, but from the actual winning standpoint, that's what you want on your student. You don't want him to get too high or too low. So.
No, when you kind of look at it though, in terms of like using that for life, because if you have these emotional highs and emotional lows, that you're just a roller coaster with your emotions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's engineering, right? I mean, you're an engineer. You know how it is. It's just numbers, right? You don't let any kind of emotions or feelings get to the bottom. You just go with the numbers, and you go with there. For all your decisions, you base it on facts, and you don't let emotions into the equation. That's how engineers are.
Yeah. Well, they always use that the numbers don't lie, and
exactly.
And so you don't get that whole drama with numbers there, and because you're not really dealing with people. That's the thing where you're just dealing with here's the facts, and this is the facts, and we're not going to go ahead. It's not black or white or whatever. It's like it's or gray or whatever I should say. It's black or white. It is what it is.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So you don't base anything on emotions.
However, but you do manage people. And so with managing people, how do you use the mindset from being an athlete to manage?
Well, it's a lot similar. I think definitely when you're a coach, because I've been a high school coach as well, you manage every project manager, every tennis player, you got to manage everyone differently. You're basically a therapist out there, You know that this guy, he plays best when he's fired up, Or you got these two, especially with doubles teams, you got to definitely get that coordination with them. And so same with project managers, you got to approach everybody a little differently, whatever it takes to get the most out of them. Maybe sometimes you got to pull back and be a little less lenient on some of your employees. You're not as strict as them because they can't work in a confined environment. Other ones you got to micromanage. So yeah, it's that same. The same thing with coaching as far as being a mentor and a project manager. So.
Okay, so with using your mindset, how else have you been able to utilize this mindset in life?
I think definitely when you look at I think you hear it a lot too with maybe like even dating in general. That's a big thing with mindset. I think a lot of guys now, especially with the online dating, they get real frustrated out there, right? Oh my God, she didn't return my call, right? The world's gonna end. Oh my God, the second date, she's completely gone. That's where you got to have that mindset, just like a tennis player. You got to be out there, and you got to take your losses or wins, and don't think about the bad things. And it goes back to that old principle. How are you going to throw a touchdown if you're worried about all your interceptions, right? So.
Yeah, I know you always talk about that.
Yeah,
and I know exactly. I know you do have your podcast that you put on.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
So,
but I mean that's the thing you're looking at. I mean, as far as like a quarterback out there, that guy's never going to throw his next great pass if he's thinking about all of his bad passes. Because you're scared you're going to make a mistake. It's the same thing with that. Like with a tennis match, and when you're playing to not lose instead of to win, it's a whole different game, right? A lot of times you'll see guys, they're not going to follow through as much. They're going to kind of shorten their swing up. They're going to not hit the shots they usually would hit. They're play a little safer. They're not going to play their usual tennis. So.
They're playing somebody else's game.
Yeah, exactly. You're two different players out there. You're going to see when you're so worried about losing, you can never. It's the same thing with your career as well. When you play it safe. And you play basically and not make any mistakes, you're going to make more mistakes. I know I've seen that with some of my project managers when they get one mistake, all of a sudden it rolls into 10, 12, 15, because they have that different mindset out there where they're so worried about making a mistake that you're not yourself. You're not your natural self, and make more and more mistakes, just compounds. And you'll see the same thing in athletes as well.
The one thing I've learned from coaches is they're gonna watch the game film after the game, and they're gonna break things down. And they're gonna look at what things didn't work, what things did work, and then they're gonna go ahead and give the feedback so they can correct and change things. So the one thing that what they've always instilled in us is that go be with the experience and deal with the emotions afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing which I've really started doing, I've actually found out from a lot of the kind of the military training, is just to monitor your heartbeat. So like whenever I have a second serve, I take a deep breath and I let my heart slow down. Because when your heart's racing, you're pacing, and you can keep track of your heartbeat and keep that pretty even keel. It's another thing a lot of athletes, you'll see them, they take that breath before the free throw, right?
Right.
And you just try to calm the body down. You slow that body down because you got that adrenaline pumping when you're in the middle of a match, and you could just go through the roof on that. So that's why I always do it. For every second serve, I'll take a couple bounces and I'll take a deep breath, and I'll see where my heartbeat is. And then once it's down, it's lower to a certain level, then I'll go ahead and hit the serve. So it's another thing I've been doing.
Do you also look at only that point only? Because I know that if you look beyond the point, say that you're at match point, and you know that if you get this, you win. Instead of just saying, look, play it, and then whatever happens.
Yeah, that's the funny thing with tennis, right? Tennis is really one of the only games where you cannot let the clock run out, right? If you don't win the last point of the match, no one ever wins. You've got to win the last point of the match. So you can't just sit there and go, oh, well, I'm up 4-0. It doesn't matter what you're up. You got to keep winning points. You don't have anything unless you had 6 games. So it's a whole different mindset where, like basketball or soccer, you can let the clock run out. But in tennis, you got to keep winning points. So yeah, that's another thing I would instill in my players, is that you just play that point. Because if you don't win this point, if you don't win the next point, you're never going to win the match. So it doesn't matter if you're up 4-0, 5-0, or you're up 1-0. It's the same thing. You got to keep winning just that next point. So one point at a time. That's what I used to always tell my players. So
that's a good philosophy. It's about, like in life, you focus on this moment and this moment only. Because I've noticed with some people, they'll live in the past. They'll live back in the glory days of high school, and then they talk about the future, or they'll try and predict the future. And I'm like, you don't know what's going to happen in the future. All you have is this moment right here.
Well, yeah, exactly. I know that we've worked with entrepreneurs in the past, and people that they don't have that long-term plan. They're like, well, I'm not where I want to be. But until you set that time frame, that guideline, and hit one milestone, and worry about that first milestone, and then go to the next milestone and the next milestone. It's just like that's what Dave Ramsey does too when he does the debt snowball, right? That's what he calls it, right? Yeah. So it's you build that momentum. So you set one goal, like you say, oh, I'm going to pay off $300. All right, so you pay the $300. Then you go, well, I'm going to pay the $600. And I'm paying, but you start getting that. You build that momentum. And the same thing with sports. You got to win that. You're down by 20 points. Well, okay, let's cut the lead to 12. All right, now we cut the lead to 12. Let's cut it to 8. We cut it to 6, and then before you know it, you're right back in the game.
Right.
But you got to get to those little milestones first.
Yeah.
And you see that a lot in NBA games. NBA games, the 20-point lead's nothing. They'll always cut that down to 10, and then they'll slowly cut. You'll watch them. They'll start shaving point by point by point, and kind of doing the little things to get back all the way in there. So.
Right. But then also too, when you look at it as like college. You live by the 3, you also die by the 3. Yeah,
exactly. So that's why maybe you should shoot the 2 instead.
Yeah, sometimes that's when you kind of look at it as, I look at my alma mater when they played Auburn, and they basically had an easy free layup, and instead they chucked it back to go ahead and shoot a 3-pointer because they wanted to go ahead and I think it was like to win the game or something like that, or I don't know exactly what it was, but and it happened is they got fouled.
Yeah.
So they ended up making this huge deficit, and they had a chance to win it, and they ended up cultivated this one play, and all they needed to do is just shoot the last shot, and if they would have went in, they would have won the game. But they came back from this huge deficit And it kind of shows the tenacity of athletes these days, where even if you are down, no matter how much you want it, that heart always beats talent, no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. I saw that with a lot of my high school players, though, as far as like just natural athletes will find a way. They would show up. You had guys that played tennis all year round. These athletes come right off the football field. They come into the tennis 6 weeks. They might not have been the most best looking form, but they're getting things done. They're quicker, they're faster, they pick things up a lot quicker. They just have that they know how to win. An athlete will figure out a way to win, even with, when they do sports they don't play all the time. They will still pick it up and they'll figure out a way to hit the ball like better than everyone else,
right,
and find their own way. So it's the biggest part.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's like that leadership. Once you have that mindset that as an athlete, it seems to people that are athletes or some people that were in the military can really make really great leaders because they know how to work together as a team.
Mm-hmm.
They also have that mindset of winning at all costs.
Yeah, and that's the military, right? You're only as strong as your weakest link, and they know how to pull in your weakest player and bring them up. So, and that's always another thing too, is that with tennis, you always want to work on your weakest stroke. So say your backhand's the weakest, people will just attack your backhand over and over. So I always have my players work on that weakest stroke, so then when they don't have any weakness, you look at like Federer, there's no weakness. There's nowhere you can really hit to him that it's not a weapon for that guy. So that's what a lot of players, we focus on all their weaknesses and make that backhand better, so that people can't just keep on going to that side of the court, keep attacking it. But I've seen guys that, they always try to hide their weakness, but as they get up on the next level, it was always that the better player's going to find their weakness. So they could play at a certain level and keep winning at that level, but they can never go to the next one until they fix that weakness. So like they have like rating systems in tennis. So like a 4-0 between a 4-5 is the next level. And it seemed like the 4-0s always had a weaker backhand. But that 4-5, that next level, that backhand wasn't a weakness at all. So they were more all around.
Right, okay. So you kind of can use that in life when you think about it. Because if you work on your weaknesses in life, it becomes a strength. Because if you don't work on that weakness, it's always going to be this vulnerability, that little chink in your armor. You might want to call it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have that chink, and so what ends up happening is maybe a person at a different level will not recognize that that's a weakness, but when you have somebody at a higher level who's going to recognize that, hey, this person is not really congruent with what they're really saying, and then that they're exposed.
Yeah, and the better athlete, the better player will just find that weakness, and especially now with the film, right? There's no hiding anymore because coaches are all watching film. You look at they got percentages now. There's apps that'll say, if you hit the ball here, you're going to win this amount of points. This percentage of points. So it's all numbers, film, areas like that. So if there's a weakness, they'll find it, especially now with athletes and today's film and everything like that. So.
And that's the thing when you kind of look at it, because when you look at the tennis back in the day, Beyond Board, and John McEnroe, Jimmy Connor, kind of dating myself or whatever, because that's when the time when I started learning how to play tennis.
Yeah.
That they didn't really have any of the technology they have right now.
Yeah. You watch the way they played it. You can't even have the same grip. You can't have the same strokes with a wooden racket as you can when you have today's racket. Today's racket's so much more powerful. You can put so much more spin on it. It's just a totally different game. You couldn't even swing. But the way they swing the old racket and today's racket, you can't. We actually do that every summer. We play with the old wooden racket. It's called the Wimbledon tournament. And you can't swing the same way with the wooden racket as you do with today's modern racket. The grips are totally different. You can't come across it. You got to come more over it. So yeah, the technology. You look at the same thing with golf, right? Golf, they're hitting it farther than they ever had. Their swings are faster. And the biggest thing too, which I really found out, I played with the same racket for years and years. I kept playing with the same racket. And then the last, 2 or 3 years, I got the Serena Williams Blade, the Wilson racket. And they have a different technology in there where actually I'd have a lot of arm problems. Well, now I don't have arm problems anymore when I play tennis because it absorbs all the vibration. It doesn't vibrate as much. So it's just.
I remember that little donut on the strings.
Oh yeah.
And put that in the little middle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you didn't see no donuts on the old wooden rackets. Yeah, when you play the wooden racket, you feel it in your arm. Big difference in the vibration, everything. But the new technology they have out there, the new rackets, people can play longer, and not be as sore and swing away. And yeah, it's pretty amazing. They're lighter, so your swing speed's going up. So you're seeing guys, hit the ball faster swing speeds, and yeah, it's pretty amazing what technology's doing.
Yeah, but the days of the rackets cracking on you, those are awesome. Because I can remember
Guys still break rackets, but they're doing it against the ground.
No, but they're slamming it or whatever.
Yeah.
But just like hitting it.
Oh yeah, that Serena Williams ad where she broke the wooden one. Yeah. Yeah, it's totally different game now. Totally different. But at the end of the day, if you look at Jimmy Connors, you look at John McEnroe. I mean, John McEnroe was great. He was a great mindset. That guy, every time the match would get tight, guess what? His shoelace came untight. If he was losing, you would watch every match, his shoelace mysteriously comes untight. Or he starts fighting with the ump. And what did that do? That's like a cooler in Vegas. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was fighting that ump because that cooled his partner. Every time his opponent got real hot, he put all that, orchestrated all that, and that fired him up, and his opponent had to cool down. And John McEnroe knew exactly what he was doing every time. Every time you watch him do the ump, he didn't care about that line call. He was trying to disrupt his opponent's flow of the match.
It's a psychological tactic.
He did every time. It was nasty, and he knew exactly what he was doing. He was the ultimate master, and that's why he won four Grand Slams in a row. He had such a streak. He was one of the greatest players of all time, and it was half of his game, and the other half was the way he was able to play mind games and the yelling and everything. It was all orchestrated. He knew exactly what he was doing at the end of the day. Jimmy Connors was another one. Great mindset. I mean, all these guys. They had Born Borg. I mean, he was like ice in his veins. Yeah, Ivan Lendl, he was known as having ice in his veins. All these guys, I mean, different technology, but they would have won in any era. Any era, they would have figured out a way to win because they had that extra mindset. And that's all tennis really is. Like I said, all the guys are very close in skills, but it's that extra point here or there that they win the match, and they do it consistently for years. So tennis is definitely I think it's the ultimate mindset because it's just you and your opponent. And there's nobody to blame, there's nobody else, no coaches are allowed. It's just, if you don't have the mindset, you're not going to win anything in tennis.
Well, when you kind of look at it, it's about life. Tennis is often like the game of life because you alone are doing your work after work. So you might have other people that are working with you, but you still have alone that you have your own little tasks that you need to get done. Mm-hmm. That is your work. It's not somebody else's work.
Yeah, and tennis too is like life. I mean, you can only have as good as a match as your opponent. If your opponent doesn't get anything back, how fun of a match is that, right? So, I mean, as you get a higher level, you start running out of people to play. You really do. Because you get to a certain level where, you don't have that player that can hit the ball back. Whereas if I play like a 4 or 5 plus level, or the guys out of college, I play some of those college kids, I have to hit 6 or 7 winners a point just to win. It's exhausting. I'm getting a little old for that now, but I'm just saying, like, it is just totally different. The amount, you have to raise your level. You do. You raise your level against a higher opponent, and then when you play a lower opponent, you try to keep the same, but the points aren't even. They're not even the same level of tennis. So that's why tennis is good university for life. It really is.
Yeah, I remember when I used to play and just going out there by myself and just putting up my cans as my targets. So when I'm serving, so I'm going to go ahead and work getting all the different angles and all the different serves, and then go slice this to the side, go ahead and have a can right there. So when I tell myself I'm going to slice it, and then it was there. But most of the time when I was beginning to learn, it was like I was happy enough to get it into the court.
Yeah.
Into the, it's not like saying, okay, get it into the service box is a winner for me.
Mm-hmm. And I always tell everybody, you want to be really good at tennis, you want to get better at tennis, play somebody that kicks your butt over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That's when I went to my greatest tennis was actually in Texas because they had the best players were out of Texas. And my level went through the roof because I had to. I mean, the players are so much better. It makes you better. You'll see a heavier ball. You'll see a faster ball, a quicker ball, and then you'll react, and then your game gets better as you play better players. And that's really the best way. I mean, you could take lessons till you're blue in the face, but just go out there and find better players. Hopefully, they'll play with you. A lot of guys. That's the problem. Some guys don't play with you, but I mean, you can find players that are better than you, willing to spend the time and play with you. I mean, that's the best way, and you'll bring your level up.
Right.
You really will, but you have to have that. You got to have that foundation of good strokes, good footwork, and of course the mental game to be there. I mean, if you don't have the proper strokes, you'll never get to a certain level. So that's why I really like training guys with a clean slate. I don't want any bad habits. It's so much easier a clean slate, give them the proper form to start out with, and then we can do a lot more from there. The people with the bad habits, it's hard to. It's that muscle memory, right? Muscle memory goes both ways.
Yeah.
You either have muscle memories of the proper strokes or muscle memories of bad strokes. But either way, if it's a bad stroke, you gotta erase that memory and you gotta correct a lot of those things. But people, they play tennis over and over again. They keep having that bad stroke. They're programmed in, so it's harder to get them to change their strokes. Anyway, golf.
But there's also sometimes there are professionals that even have bad technique that they're successful at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is even a Diamondback player, and this is the time that when the Diamondbacks won the World Series, that there was this player had a hitch in his swing, and when you kind of look at it, it's saying he's had that hitch his whole entire life.
Yeah.
But it worked for him. But when you look at it as biomechanically, it's like that is not the best form.
Yeah, but a lot of times you'll see even the guys you think have a hitch, but that contact point is right where everyone else is.
Yeah.
And so they might not look the best, but if you have that contact point that's out in front and you go through it and you're hitting the ball solid every time, you're getting that contact, it turns out that it's not as bad as the stroke as you really think it is. So.
Yeah, so sometimes it's not about like having to look pretty. It's
Mm-hmm.
about making the contact, making the ball go in and go into the places where you need it to go and be able to react. Because if you always try and look and try and make it look pretty, you might not be able to respond quick enough.
Yeah, well, there's a guy named Brad Gilbert. He's got a book out called Winning Ugly. He ended up being
I remember Brad Gilbert.
Yeah, he won more challenge matches than anyone ever did in the history of tennis. And he actually became Andre Agassi's coach. But that guy had the worst strokes, but when it came to the mental game, he was the strongest. He would know exactly where to put the ball at certain points in the match to get the job done, to basically put emphasis on his opponent. And he taught, that's why Andre Agassi's game went to the next level, because he got that mindset from Brad Gilbert on how to play the big points. And he was really able to get Andre more geared toward his mindset and also the fitness mindset too. Andre Agassi used to go to McDonald's when he was younger, and when he was 17, 18 years old, horrible fitness. And then he hired Gil Reyes as his fitness coach, and then he started running up mountains and benching like 350 pounds, and his game totally turned around. He got to that next level. I mean, because Andre Agassi was one of the most naturally gifted players.
Right.
But because he didn't get the results until he really changed his mindset and really worked with Brad Gilbert, and then really got on his fitness too. That's the other big component of being an athlete. So. But that's a big thing. I always preach, just show up, keep showing up, right? You're a big gym guy, you know how it is. Just even when you don't want to be there, be there. And that's what makes the champions, the guys that keep showing up, that are there playing, they're on the court 3-4 hours a day. They don't want to be there every day. You think they're so sick of tennis they can't take it anymore. But they have a goal. They know they're never going to achieve that goal because if they're not showing up, the next guy is, right? The next guy, he's in the gym and he's catching up a little more. He's passing them up because he keeps showing up. So every day you're not showing up, somebody else is. The same thing will work, right? Your work ethic. Right. If you're not showing up to work every day, you're not putting in 40, 50, 60 hours a week, the next guy is,
Yeah, somebody else is always going to be working harder.
Yeah.
And they're going to be wanting to take your job. Just like if you're playing in kind of a sport and if there's a team environment, even if you look at it, I say tennis. Tennis, for example, is an individual sport, but yet if you are playing college tennis, you still have rosters. You have people that always want to take your number. Because I remember my brother, he was a college tennis player, and he learned well. He was I think probably 14, and he ended up evolved where he could play college tennis, and he was at a point where he injured himself and he didn't think he can come back the next time we go around. He ended up was able to, just because of his work ethic and doing everything he possibly can, that there was no doubt about it that he ended up beating one of the coach was basically had to put him against a scholarship player. He was thinking that my brother would lose, what ended up happening, my brother ended up beating that guy, and so he ended up having to keep my brother on the team. And whereas this guy was already on scholarship, you're thinking, well, the guy wasn't going to count, they weren't going to count him, so they kept him. So
yeah,
they kept
talent will get you so far though.
Yeah.
It really will. You can have a talent employee. Elon Musk even said, when he said, you want to be an entrepreneur? He said, well, you're going to have to give up 5 years of your life. He's like, every day, he said, because I know that he even, on his first couple companies, he put a bed inside of his office. He basically lived there. He's putting in 70, 80 hours a week I mean, it just every day, just hitting it. Because every day that he's out there hitting it, the other guy isn't. So he's getting double the work done. Basically, you guys put in 40 hours, he's putting in 80, right? So, you know, his level is going like this, and the other guy is, you know, just kind of checking around. But I mean, same thing for everything: entrepreneurship, sports, everything. The guy that's out there hustling every day and just keeps showing up when he doesn't want to be there. That's the true way to win. When you show up when you don't want to be there, those are the days that you get the most improvement.
Yeah, but however, you have to have that passion. Because if you are in something in a career or something that you're doing in life that you don't have that passion, then the time that you're putting into it is just going to be a drain to you.
Oh, definitely.
And you're not going to be wanting to put in that time. I've seen this countless over.
Yeah, you see it with the crash diets all the time, right? Crash diets never work. Or like people that just get a gym membership but they don't like the gym. That's why tennis is amazing. I've seen guys in their 70s, 80s, great shape because they love the sport. They keep showing up every day because it's their passion. And that's what keeps them, that's what keeps you in shape. You can find that physical activity that you love to do, that you want to be there for. That's a big thing. I mean, that's a big, they always say, what do you want to be in life, right? What are you passionate about? Whatever you're really, if somebody else is more passionate about it than you are, they're going to succeed. Doesn't matter if they have the talent or not, because they're going to be there every day, even when it's midnight. They're going to be showing up because they love it. They love the sport, right? And that's why Serena's still playing. They said, Serena, do this for 20 years. You must really like tennis. She goes, yeah, I do. That's why I'm still here. It's not because she's chasing after goals. She loves it. She loves the atmosphere. She loves being on top of the game. But at the end of the day, she really loves tennis, and that's why she's been doing this for 25 years. You just keep showing up because it's something that you love doing. If you don't love doing it, you're done. If you hate tennis, you hate basketball, it's not for you, then don't show up, because someone else is going to have that passion. He'll be the one showing up every day, even when he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
So.
And then sometimes when people, they get to a point where it's like they hit the wall, and then they have to retire because they know that their body cannot recover and do the things. Even though up here, I'm unstoppable. I can do anything. But their body is like, hey, you can't recover like you used to.
Yeah, or they lose that step. That's the big thing, because tennis is all about explosion. And if you lose that step, if you're 2 steps short, you're different. Instead of hitting a volley up here, you're hitting it down low. You're not getting as close to it. You're not closing in. All of a sudden, then you can get pushed side to side a little more. And it's all about the explosion. You start losing the explosion. That's when the guys retire, Pete Sampras and all that. But they are there. I mean, the way fitness is going, though, you're watching this. Serena's 38 years old, and she's still out there. She just won her quarterfinal match today. She's going to the semifinals of the U.S. Open. That would never, at 38, people no way would they think of playing that late in tennis. People retiring at 30, like 30 used to be old back in the day. With today's fitness and the way they're able to keep their body up now, and people are geared to, because everybody would work out the same, right? Back in the day, 20 years ago, everyone would work out the same, or hardly would work out. But now they have tennis-specific workouts, baseball-specific,
right,
just for the sports and the healing process. They know how to, the Tommy John surgery, stuff like that is coming around. The surgeries are getting a lot better, and people are able to go into their late 30s to 40s now and play tennis. So you're watching both guys. And Roger Federer is another example. The guy's 39. He's been playing this player of all time. But his big thing is you watch that guy. He's never been injured because he's never in the wrong position. His anticipation, everything's like the Matrix. Everything slows down. I've been there too with tennis. Like everything seems to slow down and everything's in slow motion. You know exactly. It's almost like picking up like that tell in poker. You can see the tell in tennis. You'll see a guy and he'll put his left hand a little bit to the left. You realize, oh great, he's serving out wide. And actually, there was in the book Andre Agassi wrote, he found out. They said, why did you always return Boris Becker's serve so well? He goes, I didn't tell anybody, but when he moved his racket a little to the left, I knew he was going to hit a flat serve or a slice serve based on his racket. I had to tell him. He said he had to tell him. One of the greatest servers of all time, Boris Becker. Yeah, he found his tell.
Wow.
And that's the big thing. But a guy like Roger Federer, though, he just knows where the ball's going to be. He anticipates it. He's been doing this for so long, and he's just naturally able to see through the matrix and see things before they happen. He knows where that ball's going to be. He'll start running for it, and you're like, how do you know it's going to be there? Because he's done this time and time again. He has that anticipation. He can read little things about people and know exactly where they're going to put them. So there's a little bit of a poker aspect of tennis as well. They're reading people. Right. They're telling where they're going to hit it. You can tell. I can always tell. The way a guy's racket. If his racket faces a little up, I close it in the net. Just like the video at the beginning of this that I sent you, that we're going to show at the beginning. I mean, you'll see the racket face go up a little bit. He has to hit it in the air, so I just run as fast as I can to the net because he has to hit it up, and if I can get it before it drops, I can just pound it down. So the littlest things in tennis, eyesight's huge. Andre Agassi, when he was a young child, actually, his father and mother put a tennis ball over his crib, and he had the greatest return of all time because they said it kind of goes back to he was able to focus his eyes on the tennis ball. His eyesight was amazing. Jimmy Connors had great eyesight. So that the better eyesight you have, you can pick up where the ball's going to be a little bit quicker. You can anticipate and get your racket back faster. So I mean, that's another big key to tennis too, is to be able to see that ball better than everybody else. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to tennis than a lot of people just think of it, running around hitting a ball. So.
Right, until a person actually plays tennis, then they don't realize the dynamics of it and what it means to have that muscle memory and going with the strokes. I ended up learning how to do a one-handed backhand, and my brothers wanted to taught me how to do that, whereas I had coaches that were trying to do a two-handed backhand because it was simpler to do. But the way I was taught was my brother was like, it's almost like you're an umpire and you're safe.
Yeah.
And so it was like whenever you see my brother play, it was like.
Well, the crazy thing about one-handed, two-handed backhands, Pete Sampras was a great junior, and he had a two-handed backhand. But Pete Sampras had the forward thinking. He thought he wanted to be the greatest player of all time, one of the greatest players of all time, and he knew he had to be more of an offensive player. So because of that, he went from a two-handed backhand to a one-handed backhand when he was like 13 or 14 years old, which is kind of late for tennis to be making that big of a decision. So he was losing matches. He was struggling because he was going from two-handed to one-handed. But he had the foresight to know that if he switched over to one-handed, he'll be more offensive, a more offensive player having one hand, more range of motion with the one hand. And ended up changing his whole career. It was a big risk that he took at the time. He lost a lot of matches, but he was able to fight through it and then he ended up, being one of the greatest players of all time because of that switching over from two-handed to one-handed back.
And that's a good example right there of a person who's into the entrepreneurship, where you plant your seeds in life and you're getting rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection. And some people look at it as this rejection is like, I'm just going to pack up and I'm not going to do this anymore. But if you look at it as each rejection is a step closer to where you're going to.
Yeah, the biggest thing is they're taking that risk, right? I mean, Pete Sampras could have played it safe and just kept his two-handed backhand, and he probably wouldn't be the same player he was today. Right? He took that risk. He went to one-handed backhand. That's what entrepreneurs do. Instead of just keeping that 9-to-5 job, they let everything go. They take the big risk. They leave that six-figure salary. They go ahead and they're like Elon Musk, right? They go and they get the one-bedroom apartment which they're working out of. They're living out of. They're eating. They're basically keeping their expenses down. They're living like a pauper because they have that foresight. They have that risk. If they have that goal, what they want to do, and they have to make the sacrifices in the now to live the life they want to live to in the future, right?
Right, and because also too is that if they don't do it, then what's going to happen is they're going to always have that regret in life that they didn't accomplish it. They didn't get it finished what they wanted to start. And so it's just something where, what do they always say, that what is the most wealthiest place and when you look in the plot of land? It's the graveyard. Because there are untold books that are there, inventions, etc., things that are just left on the plate that nobody knows. Because they always say that a person has so many different ideas that could have maybe made them millions of dollars, could have changed the world.
Yeah, but the key is you got to make the sacrifice. Dave Ramsey always says, live like no one else now.
So they do live like
no one else in the future, right? That's his mantra. So, and that's the key of, you have to surround yourself with those people too. If you surround yourself with people that keep like saying, oh my God, why are you taking this risk? What are you doing? You're crazy. You're not going to do it. You're not going to make it. All that negative energy around you. But you surround yourself with other people, like other entrepreneurs. Think, oh my God, I'm taking a risk. You're taking a risk. You're going to make it, but you have to sacrifice now and keep you on the right track. But those are the kind of people that keep you going forward. And that's like with Dave Ramsey. I mean, if you look at like balancing a budget and not going on vacation, everyone's like going on vacation. You got to say, oh, I can't.
Right.
I can't go to Vegas this weekend. I have a goal, a financial goal. People are going to be like, you might lose some friends over it. But if you find other people that are also sacrificing and understand your longer term goal and can support you, that's a big thing of who you are around you, right? I mean, they always say the last 5 people on your phone is who you're gonna become, right? So if you have 5 people on your phone that constantly telling you you're doing it wrong, you're not doing it right, you're not giving that negative energy out there, in that negative mindset, then you're probably not going to make it. But you have 5 people on your phone going, yeah, make the sacrifices now. You're doing the right thing.
Right.
Go ahead, Elon Musk, right? Go ahead, Elon. Go ahead and don't take that engineering job. Let that 6 figures go. Eat peanut butter and bread, for the meantime, and sacrifice and work 90, 100 hours a week and live like no one else now, so you can be that live like no one else in the future. So, that's the same thing.
Yeah, well, most people, they don't have that vision, and they don't have not only the vision but the plan. Because if you have a plan on, like, and what we were talking about before is looking at project management, where you have milestones that you need to meet, and with knowing that when you're working on a plan that from year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, all these different things that you need to be getting things done. And it's the momentums that are going to keep on propelling you to get, because if you look at it as how do you eat an elephant? You eat an elephant one bite at a time. But if you look at the elephant as the big, huge elephant,
you're going to quit, right? There's a lot of people that quit. They're going to be like, oh my God, like with tennis, you're going to look at those guys up there and be like, wow, I can't beat Roger Federer. Look how good that guy is. If you play Roger Federer, you start tomorrow, you play Roger Federer, you're going to get your butt kicked. You're probably never going to play tennis again. But if you play a guy your level and you beat him, you're like, oh, I kind of like this. It's going good. Then you play the next guy up, the next level. You go from a 3-5 to a 4-0. Okay. Then you start beating that guy. Whoa, okay, this is good. But then you go to the next one, 4-5. But you don't jump from starting tennis thinking you're going to beat Roger Federer. You're not getting there. You're not getting there right there. You're going to have to be practicing 3 to 4 hours a day. You're going to have to make that commitment, and eventually you're going to get there. But I mean, it's going to take you 10, 15, 20 years. You got to have that long-term vision to get where you want to be in sports and life and everything else. So.
Right. Like I tell a lot of college athletes, if you want to be successful, you need to stop going to parties, stop chasing women. Just focus on your sport and focus on sport. Those are the only 2 things that you need to be working on, and that's it.
Yeah, that's the key, right? Distractions. Isn't it? Maybe it's women, maybe it's, like I said, going on vacations, financially putting you back, things like that. I know people that live for vacations. Oh, am I going to pay the rent or go on vacation? I'm going to go on vacation. Look at this. And then they got their Instagram, and they're living it up, they're having a good time, they're doing everything else. But at the end of the day, they're not getting closer. They're not getting that goal. They're just staying stagnant in life. They're not making the sacrifices now to get to where they have to be.
Yeah, because people, they live in the moment right now. And I understand that whole thing because I was counting every single penny, and I was very tight with my money. But then kind of look at it as it gave me the ability that when working as a contractor, as a software contractor, that you live and die by the contract. There's periods of time that you could be working for the whole entire 2 years of the contract, or it might be only 6 months, and then maybe you're out for 6 months. So then you got to look at it as you got to have that savings, you got to do certain things. But I also been into a point where I wasn't working for 6 to 8 months at one time, and the thing is that I was sharpening my blades, sharpening my iron, just working on the tools that when the opportunity comes, I'll be ready. Because most people, they tend to bury their head in the sand, they're poor me, they play that victim mode instead of looking at it as what can I do? Prepare yourself for the opportunity. And I notice this, especially as being an athlete, that you always got to be in that athletic shape. You always got to be to a point where it's you don't know when the next competition is going to happen. That if you knew a crystal ball, if you knew everything was all planned out, saying when to train here, and peak for this meet, peak for that meet, sometimes you don't even know when they're going to happen because you're not in control of that. And that's something I've realized now in life is that you're only in control with yourself.
And that's what tennis. It's all about prize money in tennis, right? The guys, the pro at the pro level, they might go months without winning a tournament, and they got to have that cash flow to still pay for travel, their coaches, everything else. So they have to be. They're almost like running your own business at that point. You don't know when you're going to win that next tournament, but you keep working on your skills. You keep going to the gym. You keep being fit, and you keep your expenses down. So you have the cash flow to keep paying for your coach, keep paying for training, keep paying for travel. It's a lot of business management. I mean, not all the guys are Roger Federer. There are guys that are just tour rats, right? They're just making it paycheck to paycheck, year to year, because they love tennis so much They have a dream about making it to the next level, to being a Roger Federer.
Right.
But in the meantime, they're not there yet. So they have to just, keep showing up at the gym, keep watching their expenses, and keep trying to improve, keep working on their weaknesses so that they can start winning tournaments. But yeah, there's a lot of sacrifices, and I mean, there's a lot of correlation between being a professional tennis player and being an entrepreneur. As far as finances, work ethic, showing up, like we were talking about, going to the gym when people aren't going to the gym, right? You're in the gym 3-4 hours a day. You're on the court 4 or 5 hours more than the next guy because you're trying to get to the next level.
Right.
And yeah, it's a crazy lifestyle. A lot of people burn out. The burnout rate in tennis around, because they start out at 4 or 5. A lot of people, they're done by 20. They're burned out. They can't. That's 15 years of their life. They start out young and they're done by 20.
Yeah, sometimes they actually want to start living their life. They want to see how other people are living, and they're not looking at it as like, what exactly do I want? And maybe you have like a certain goal, a certain time period, saying, okay, I'm going to continue doing this, and then once I hit a certain age, then I'm going to go ahead and go do something else. But in the meantime, they can go ahead and switch over to certain things where you look at it as a tennis player. We were just talking about Brad Gilbert, I remember him just being like an average tennis player or whatever. But then he ended up utilizing some skills that he developed.
Yeah, he became a top 10 player.
Yeah, so then he can go ahead and help out other players improve their game because of he realizes that maybe he wasn't the best ground stroker, the best tennis player that's out there. He wasn't the greatest of all time, but he was able to develop a mindset that he can go ahead and teach that mindset to other athletes.
Yeah, he got to that next level to where he was top 10 in the world for a number of years. With no talent whatsoever. I mean, the guy still had, of course, he got to have great strokes, but he didn't have that natural talent the other guys did. But he was out there grinding, working on his mindset, in the gym more, on the court more. He just had that. He had that drive more than everybody else, and he put that time in, and he got results from it. And I think that's definitely what the mindset that everyone should have in anything they achieve in life. So.
That's what I noticed when you're dealing with athletes. Athletes have that mindset. They're going to win at all costs. Mm-hmm. They're going to get things done. You give it to them and saying, this is what I want them to get done, they're going to figure out a way.
Yeah, exactly. Because they know what it takes to be a champion, and it's hard work and just the passion and grit and getting out there. So.
Yeah, I get really kind of pissed off by certain people that have the talent. When I ran college track, had an individual on the track team who was a damn good runner, damn good sprinter. The guy, in my eyes, I felt like he probably could have been in the Olympics, or at least maybe it wasn't the Olympics. He could have actually represented the United States in like a Pan Am Games or something like that, or the Goodwill Games, because they just have the Goodwill Games. He had such great talent. However, what ended up happening is he didn't really put in that work ethic. It was most of the time he was partying, just like any college student that was out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and because of that, he didn't make it to the next level.
Yeah, exactly.
He failed at it. So.
Yeah, and I kind of looked at it as I was out there, I was like just an average college athlete. I kind of looked at it saying, I was a Division I athlete, and like a lot of it is because I had to put in a lot of time. I remember like when we were talking about before, just putting in all these hours. I used to go ahead and have a tire. I used to take this tire and then tie a rope around the tire and tie it around my waist. And I used to sprint with dragging a tire. And then I used to go ahead and go in the ditches where they're full of sand, so I could go ahead and get that leg drive. I was able to be very explosive, and I guess my claim to fame back in the day was I was able to take a volleyball and I could dunk it because I had that quick hops and very explosive. And then I ran against an athlete who did win a bronze medal in the Olympics in the '96 Olympic Games. And I ended up looking at it as I kind of felt like I beat him out of the blocks.
Yeah.
That was kind of my claim to fame. But he kicked my ass.
Yeah. Like me, I started out like 11 or 12 playing tennis. I was a late bloomer. I just played off the wall. That's where I started. Was off the garage. I just played off my garage over and over and over again.
Hitting against the wall.
Yeah, and I would play all these kids who've been playing for years. These kids with all this money and stuff at the country club, and they would laugh at me, and they would beat me. But then eventually, I passed them up. Just because I kept playing off the wall. I kept playing tennis. I was out there, more than they were. And eventually I was able, even though they were started out farther in the race, I was able to catch up just because I had to work harder, obviously. If I would have just not worked at the same level as they would, I never would have caught them. But because I had that drive and that motivation, I was able to catch them and be able to beat them eventually. But you know, it's not, I guess, where you start, it's where you finish a lot of times. And these guys with the skill, you know, they might be real far ahead to start out with, but if they don't put the time in and the effort and have that mindset to win the big points, and they're going to get passed by everybody else.
Right.
Torch in the hair, basically.
So everything takes time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you kind of look at it as in life, that if you're an entrepreneurial individual or anything in life that you want something, that you got to start somewhere. It's just the process is just doing it. Just do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. Do it and do it and do it and do it and do it.
Yeah, just keep showing up.
Yeah,
that's what I would
it.
say. Keep showing up when you don't want to be there. Keep showing up when you're tired of eating bread every day, or you're tired of going to the gym. Just keep showing up when you don't want to be there, and that's where the real results will come.
Yeah,
so.
it reminds me of, if you have that mentality of like, as David Grogan would say, it's just that you're just going to go ahead and just harden yourself. You're going to get hard. You're going to go ahead and not let these emotions trigger you because you've already done it. You're going to have that mindset of you're gonna endure it.
Yeah,
Pain is nothing.
Yeah, that's what he always says. Is he embraces the pain. I followed him as well. And he's interesting how he says that he'll get to that point and he starts feeling that pain, and that's when he really pushes through because he knows other people are going to quit at that point.
Yeah.
Other people aren't going to be able to do that. So it gives him like that superhero type mindset where he keeps going even though he doesn't want to keep doing that extra push up or extra pull up. But he's feeling that pain, but he just keeps pushing through, because he's got that mindset that the more he doesn't feel the pain anymore. Interesting.
Yeah, just
interesting guy.
Yeah, just imagine if most people had that type of mentality, just how far they would be along in life.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's always two different paths you can take. If whenever you have like a divorce or whatever, you can go one way or the other. You can either, you can be like, you can feel like, oh my God, the world's against me. I'm quitting. I'm gonna go ahead. Or you can be like, oh, the world's against me. Guess what? I'm gonna show the world. Right? The world, everybody's against me. Well, I'm gonna show them. I'm gonna be that person they said I can't be. So there's two different ways you look at adversity. And the champions, they take that road where they're gonna prove you wrong. You can either prove somebody right or prove somebody wrong.
Yeah.
And if you prove somebody right, you're all going down, right? But if you prove somebody wrong, that's a better feeling. You become better for it. And that's the way you look at adversity, the way things are out there. So.
It's like for motivation. You either are going to be motivated for moving towards something or moving away from something.
Yeah.
So there are two different mindsets. And what ends up happening is people tend to, like, when you go in like a divorce situation or they're just tired of their job and they're moving away from something instead of looking at like moving towards something. Like Elon Musk is a good example of moving towards something where it's more of a, not to say it's more of a positive mindset, because they both are positive because you're moving towards something, but it's just what gets you started. And somebody, it's like when they're moving away from something, it's because somebody lit the fire under their ass.
Yeah.
You see this a lot with relationships. The woman breaks up with the guy because he's lazy. And then what ends up happening is the guy is going to maybe grovel or whatever, and he's going to change. But he's getting that forced change because she lit the fire under his ass.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of times, even like Serena says she's her own biggest critic. She's harder on herself than everybody else. Sometimes you got to be your own biggest critic. You got to be picking apart everything and pushing yourself more than anybody. You got to be like, yeah, I might have hit a winner, but I could have done it. I could have hit that forehand a little closer, right? So as long as you're your own biggest critic and you're never satisfied with where you currently are, you'll always get better. And that's what Serena does. Serena is never satisfied. She's never had a perfect match in her own mind. I mean, she played a match today, 43 minutes. I'm sure she found areas that she can still improve. So you got to be your own biggest critic in every aspect of life.
But there's some people that when they're being they criticize themselves and not able to appreciate the experience and appreciate the win. The thing is that they just continuously doing, I could have done that better, could have done that better, could have done that better. Then what ends up happening is they're not able to appreciate it. So if they appreciate, and then they can reflect back and just saying, hey, you know what, I did see that I screwed up here, and let's go ahead and work on this stroke, or let's work on this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like how maybe I need to look on being more observant and things like that. How did I get past
Yeah,
that?
and it's how you take failure.
Yeah.
You can look at failure as an opportunity. If you look at failure as an opportunity, you'll get better. If you look at failure the opposite way as not an opportunity, then you're gonna, like I said, you're not gonna prove anybody wrong. You'll prove everybody right. You'll be that failure. You'll be that. You're not gonna get the results you want. So you're always gonna fall, but it's how you deal with those mistakes that you're gonna be able to either get better or you're gonna get worse. You're gonna go one way or the other. And the champions are gonna look at a mistake and say, what can I do to improve that? People that are champions are gonna be like, they're gonna look at a mistake and say, I quit, I'm done. So don't let yourself become a mistake. Go ahead and look for that inspiration.
So, if you can give some tips to go ahead and have that positive mindset when a person's dealing with some kind of adversity, what tips would you give?
Again, I would just go back to don't look at anything as an adversity. Look at it as an opportunity for growth. I think that's the number one mindset you can have anything to do with life, especially in sports. Don't look at that missed shot or that bad backhand as a negative thing. Think like, okay, the good thing is you found your mistake. You found your opportunity, and then you can improve upon it. So take every failure, every mistake as an opportunity for growth and a chance to become and get where you want to be. So.
And then if you can go back to your 20-year-old self with all the knowledge and experience and wisdom that you have right now, what would you tell your 20-year-old self?
Keep showing up. Keep going to the gym. Stay on the court. Keep the course. And never give up. Find you. It doesn't matter how hard things are gotten. Because there's many times in engineering school I want to quit. I'm glad I didn't. So I'm glad I didn't quit on that and kept up with my fitness. I've pretty much maintained the same lifestyle throughout my life. So I would just say just keep showing up and stay in the gym and keep going on. And, keep putting in the hot hours. So.
Awesome. Okay. And I know that you have your podcast. I know you're doing a couple of videos here and there. So if you want to tell people about where they can find your podcast.
Yeah, we'll just put it in the description. You'll see in this video, and then it's kind of like pretty much started out kind of in the ground roots, but hopefully I can pick up some momentum and get that going. And just really trying to help people out in general. That I know a lot of people are struggling, especially in the dating scene out there. So hopefully I can help a lot of people that are struggling and kind of go through. And I've had a lot of setbacks and failures, and I'm trying to help people out and explain what I've learned through my failures. So yeah, so we'll put it in the description of this video. So.
Okay, awesome. Okay, that concludes the podcast for tonight. So peace out. Love you guys.